talk about the importance of wearing masks, because there's still a lot of people who are not wearing masks and not complying. And then we'll talk about, after the COVID stuff, we'll go to the report from Leo after, and then a brief report, and then if there's anything to you to add, then we'll move on to enforcement for the fireworks and so forth. Are we ready, Mr. DeTamps?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, thank you, and welcome to the Las Vegas City Council chambers. I'm lucky to be joined today by some very important people in the community, and we're going to discuss today a little bit about public safety, keeping our community safe for the upcoming holiday weekend, and not only for the holiday weekend, but for for right now. I'd like to talk first about the importance of complying with the face masks and social distance. I can't impress upon everybody how important it is. I've walked into businesses and I've seen that people are not wearing their masks. Sort of offensive to me, but I have to know that we've been kind with people. We've been asking them, we've been reminding them, and I don't want to see us move into an enforcement issue where we start issuing citations, but that's not out of picture. To the community, and thank you for the community members who continue to do that. And there are still people that are in the community that are not wearing face masks. And again, enforcement is out of the picture. We've just been kind with the community. The community's been kind with us. There's a lot of people who take it very seriously. Everybody knows that there's sort of a spike in some of the neighboring states like Texas and Arizona particularly. I know that the 4th of July around here in Las Vegas is usually for family reunions. And I just ask people to be careful as to how you proceed and who you into your house. If you have relatives come, practice that social distancing. If you wear masks. I just heard of a terrible story of a family in Dallas who celebrated 1,008 people from, I think now it's 9 from that were at that little party are now tested positive for COVID-19. So that's how easy things can happen. Is one person you invite into your house for your barbecue or reception, it can go from there. So be careful. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. to say a few words about face masks and allow him to talk about the importance of face masks and from a medical perspective. Dr. Tafur.
Hello, good evening. So just overall, New Mexico is actually doing a really good job compared to other states, and at the time that states were already opening, New Mexico was the only state that was actually meeting the CDC requirements to get reopening in stages. And so our governor is doing an outstanding job with this, but we need to keep up the great work. And as Louie mentioned, our neighboring states are doing really bad right now, and I'll tell you, if you drive around town, you're going to see a lot of Texas license plates around, Arizona license plate. They're coming through here, and so it's really important that we are wearing our masks and keeping our hands clean and doing precautions that we can to keep our community safe. And so I know some people were upset about canceling the 4th of July fiestas and that, but I mean, it really wasn't even up to us. It's not a light level at this point, and so the stuff that the them is, I want our businesses to remain open. I want people to be at work. I want people being able to pay their bills and support their families. If wearing a mask is allowing us to do that, then we should stop and just get it done so that people continue to earn an income and support their families and keep our city's economy, our state's economy, and our country's economy going. And so wearing a mask, if that allows us to be able to do that, then we should really take it seriously. And I honestly recommend that we be responsible for making sure that the people in their stores are wearing masks, because that's going to really help us prevent the spread. And so it's, that's not really my part to say this is going to happen, but I recommend it. I think we should hold responsible, because what I'm seeing a lot of is people are walking in with a mask to get in the store, and then once they're in, they put it in their pocket and they're done with it, and that just was a fired mask. There's a lot of legitimate science research that has gone into this already to show the differences between wearing a mask and not wearing one. They were showing a study they did with Petri dishes where they had people cough into the Petri dish wearing a mask, and then the other person not wearing a mask. And the amount that grew on the Petri without a mask was met to the one with a mask. It was almost no growth with the mask. And so that alone says a lot. That speaks a lot. A picture speaks 1,000 words. And so the studies, I guess, came out of China showing the same thing, that they saw the rate starting to drop off when they did a mask requirement. There's also a lot of fake science out there, and so they're saying wearing masks is increasing carbon dioxide and it causes issues. I haven't seen a study yet that says doctors, particularly surgeons or people who work in operating rooms, are having chronic respiratory issues despite wearing a mask for 12 to 16 hours a day. So if somebody has a legitimate study, I would love to see it, because I'll promise you there's not one. Doctors and healthcare givers have worn masks, for hours a day for years, and there's nothing to suggest that they're going to suffer from chronic respiratory illnesses because of it. So it's fake science, guys. It's just, there's a lot out there, and unfortunately, social media is flooded with, there's no legitimate study done. And so they're just trying to come up with excuses as why we shouldn't be wearing masks. So again, our New Mexico is doing a great job. As a whole, our nation is not right now. Dr. Fauci said at a rate that we're looking at, soon we're going to have 100,000 new cases a day in our country. And so this thing is nowhere near over. We are supposed to see this huge drop in cases now that the summer came, and maybe another second wave in the fall. We don't have to debate the second wave anymore, because we're not seeing the drop. It is not going anywhere. The cases continue to rise, and so we are still in the middle of this. We haven't gone out. And so the mask requirement is a huge part of containing the virus and prevent the rapid spread of it. And again, that goes along with hand washing, social distancing. One of the things I noticed too with the masks is if people do have masks on, now it's okay to be in tight groups of 10 people or more. No, they're still recommending the social distancing. But yes, the masks are beneficial in addition to the social distancing. So I just ask that the people continue to practice safety. Again, take care of your family, your community, and keep our businesses open so that we can keep our city strong.
Thank you, Dr. Tafoya, and as always, I appreciate your time and you being with us here at the city, and I'm very, very confident that we can call on you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Estes, could you plead us from your perspective?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
Mayor.
sir.
First, I'd like to start off by thanking our residents from Las Vegas, as well as the residents of County as a whole, keeping our numbers low as possible. We'd also like to continue to ask you to observe all the guidance that the governor's office has implemented with physical distancing, washing hands, not touching faces, and wearing masks. We are currently at 21 cases, which for this is very low across the nation, not for the things that you most necessarily need to do. So With that, we are constantly coordinating with our school districts because they're getting ready to raise all their individuals, possibly students, to get the school year up and going. Our United World College, we have a lot of international students that are coming in, figuring out a policy and protocol for them to get tested so that they can continue with a successful educational school year. So with that, again, thank you for keeping the numbers low and keeping all the social distancing guidelines at hand.
Thank you, Mr. Maestas, and thank you for the wonderful job you do for our community and our county. It's people like you that, help so much in helping the public to understand the gravity of this. And, we've been in an emergency within county since this thing started, and we keep contact with all kinds of different agencies. We're trying to coordinate everything, and I can call on Leo anytime, and he always answers his, and I appreciate your hard work. Yes, sir. I'd like to move this subject to issue for the community, and that's fire safety. So as you know, we're in a very, very bad drought, and I'm hoping that, as our luck every year rains the 4th of July, and I'm hoping that happens again this year. However, aerial fireworks are illegal in Las Vegas. We hear them going off at night, the big booms that you hear at night. Those are not small fireworks. Those are very huge, large fireworks that can cause a lot of, and for the community's sake and for the safety of our community and your neighbors, we are asking for your help. The police officers cannot be everywhere at one time. They jump, and so we're asking to call. Your neighbor is shooting fireworks off. Please call the city police. Very good directions as to where the in the evening like it used to for some reason. Night before last, I was going to bed at 9:30, and the winds were still at 18 miles an hour, which is strong, not compared to 25 and 40 that we have during the day. So the ambers can carry for a long time. If your neighbors are shooting off those fireworks, you can bet that those ambers are landing on your property somewhere. On the roof of your house, in your backyard. So if you're shooting those big illegal fireworks, you can see that those ambers are landing on your property. So I'm urging everybody to please be careful. I'd hate to have a fire start anywhere or anybody's house to be damaged, and it's just not worth it. Billy, we talked a little bit about our fire chief, talk a little bit about what the fire department can expect, and talk a little bit about enforcement and the funds that people can face if they're using illegal fireworks. Billy?
Sure. Well, good afternoon, Mayor, and thank you for the introduction. I have a few bullet points that I'm going to go through today in regards to the upcoming 4th of July weekend, and the points that I want to make are just to make sure the community is safe during this drought time. We are in moderate to severe drought conditions in the area that you live in. With that being said, I encourage everybody to refrain from the use of fireworks in any area that can cause potential for fire emergency. Please use extreme caution when igniting any type of incendiary device in dense areas. In areas that have an excessive, extreme amount of fire, as you mentioned, Mayor, is considered to be unlawful. So that's going to include bottle rockets, black cats, M80s, artillery shells, and any type of firework that exceeds 10 feet above the ground. The permissible fireworks are the fountain type fireworks that do not exceed the said 10 feet. This includes all ground and handheld sparklers and also novelty items. Please keep in mind when igniting these fireworks, adult supervision is required. A water source or fire extinguisher should be on site and accessible and should only be ignited on paved areas. So if you have a bunch of high weeds or anything like that, we are encouraging you not to utilize those areas. Never reignite malfunctioning fireworks or allow small children to ignite fireworks. Never ignite fireworks indoors or throw fireworks at a person or animal. And last but not least, please dispose fireworks properly by allowing them to cool in a bucket of water for approximately 20 minutes or so before disposing. I want to reiterate the importance of following these instructions and abiding by the municipal ordinance. Our crews, as well as LVPD and code enforcement, will be patrolling throughout the entire holiday weekend to ensure the safety of our community. Should any type of illegal fireworks be utilized, fines and penalties will be issued out accordingly. The penalty assessment is as follows. For the unlawful use of fireworks, first offense is $150, second offense is $300, subsequent offenses will be at a rate of $500. So it goes, once again, $150, $300, $500. Also keep in mind that crews will be confiscating any and all illegal fireworks. So just like the mayor mentioned earlier, anything that goes up in the air, those are considered illegal. Now for the sale of unlawful fireworks, first offense will be $100, second offense will be $300, subsequent will be $500. Now if anybody needs to refer to this ordinance, it's on the city website. It is ordinance chapter 238, and just go down through the entire ordinance if you want to become familiar with it. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to call my office, as well as either of our fire stations. And I believed that is the summarized version of the do's and don'ts of fireworks for the safety of our municipality. And like I said, feel free to contact us if you have any concerns, questions, comments. Our crews will be out. You're going to see fire trucks all over the city. You're going to see command units, police officers, and code enforcement officers patrolling. And with that, I would like to wish everybody a happy 4th of July weekend, and thank you again.
Chief, I just wanted, some people called about the fireworks stand at Walmart. And I tried to explain to them that you go in there to inspect to see what they're selling. Could you just comment on that a little bit, on how you...
Sure. So our inspector has made rounds to all the fireworks stands, including the one inside Walmart and outside of Walmart. And also the state fire marshal goes by and makes sure that any illegal fireworks are not permitted. So we go through, we make sure that they have all the permissibles, that they have all their permits in place, that they have their city business license in place, fire extinguishers, no smoking signs, that they're 150 feet away from a gas station, church, school, those types of things. So we go in, make sure that everything that is allowed is on premises, everything that's not allowed, no go.
Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that the fire department is helping patrol the streets and so forth this weekend as well, right?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And the loud booms that you hear are fireworks that people are bringing in from probably somewhere out of town, or...
Yes, sir.
So none of those are being sold here.
They are not allowed to be sold within our city limits, so those are coming from out of town. Yes, sir.
And they're illegal.
Correct.
By possessing them or even firing them off.
Yes.
It's illegal to have them, and it's illegal to use them.
Correct. And we will be finding people if we catch them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bibb, would you care to comment about the police department and how they can be reached to report an offense? Thank you, Mr. Bibb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as the fire chief did state, we will be working in concert together over the weekend to make sure that our communities stay safe, that the fireworks that are being used are legal, and that the fire danger is being taken seriously The last thing that we need here is an uncontrolled fire. That would just be terrible for our community. So, as the fire chief stated, we will be working very closely together, and the code enforcement specialists will also be on hand to assist.
Okay. And they can call the non-emergent number.
Right, so the number for the police department is 425-7504, and they can actually access the police department or the fire department through our dispatch. If there is a case where a police officer is not available, the dispatcher can actually, with the same radio, reach out to the fire department.
Thank you. So again, don't be afraid to report your neighbor. It might be your house that burns. If your neighbor's shooting off illegal fireworks, make sure that you call the police department. Now, in an actual emergency, you would call 911 if there's actual fire. But if not, if you're going to report someone, you can use the non-emergent phone number, and that's 425-7504. Give the dispatcher very exact directions as to, or the exact address as to where those fireworks are being fired, and we will get somebody out there immediately. And I need the public's help with this. The police cannot be, and the fire trucks cannot be everywhere at once, so we're asking people to call immediately. Once they hear that and once they see those fireworks going off, please call. This might spare somebody's house, it might spare a big grass fire. So thank you so much for the police, for everything that police officers do.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Mayor.
thank you, Mr. Bibb, for the job that you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and thank you, Billy. I appreciate everything, and please tell your personnel that they're very much appreciated.
I sure will, thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the drought and the ban on campfires and open flames in the county. And I've invited Max Trujillo, who's a county commissioner, who's going to talk a little bit about those decisions that the county made early on and why that happened, and then just the danger of having open flames in anywhere in the county. So, Max?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for the time. So, first of all, in I guess it was mid-May to late May, Chief Duran and I and our county manager sat down and after some communication with the U.S. Forest Service and the State Forestry Department, and given the issue of implementation of a wildfire fight, especially now with the COVID-19 crisis we're in, the sentiment from the U.S. Forest Service and the State Forestry was to mobilize firefighting units around the country in the Southwest and everywhere else for that matter, was going to be a monumental task. So they took the initiative in closing down some of their campsites and some of the Forest Service areas and state parks and things like that, just to avoid something like this or something catastrophic from happening, because it not only are we in a extreme drought situation right now and have been since May, just the mobilization of firefighting units could be a real nightmare logistically for the U.S. government or for the state for that matter, and it could take up millions and millions of dollars of revenue that we can use to fight COVID would be used to fight a catastrophic wildfire. So with all of those things in mind, in our conversation with the chief and with Mr. Maestas, we decided to implement some fire restrictions, and we did it in our June meeting.
believe it
Chief?
was, first of May.
Okay, so it was our May meeting, so we put out some restrictions for no open burn within the county area. Of course, the Forest Service had already implemented fire restrictions back before Memorial Day. So we kind of followed suit, and it really is just, it has to do with respect for other agencies and the people around us who we may not have time, and we may not have the manpower because of what's happening with COVID-19 to mobilize firefighting units and troops and everybody that we need to get involved logistically to fight a wildfire. So we made those moves with the county and at the direction of Mr. Duran and Mr. Maestas and our manager to put those restrictions out there, and thank God, so far, it seems like everybody has been complying. We haven't had, I don't think, have we had any real incidents of open burns going bad, or?
We have had a few fires, not intentionally set, lightning strikes, which we know are gonna happen. We're in those conditions where the weather is hot and dry. So lightning strikes are our biggest issue right now. Can't do anything about those aside from being very responsive and getting out there as fast as possible.
Yeah, and the county has done a great job. I know we've had a couple of grass fires and some other, small burns that the county has responded to immediately and had got things under control before they got out of control. So I wanted to just commend Mr. Duran and his crews and our volunteer fire departments in the county. They do such an important job, and they're ready. They're ready all the time. They're prepared. Our fire stations are well organized, and they have good communication with their volunteers. So I wanted to thank Mr. Duran for doing all you do and keeping that ball rolling, because with a volunteer force, sometimes there's those communication issues, and you don't always get people to respond to emergencies, but somehow, some way we get it done, and I think that's organization from our fire chief, and I just wanted to thank you for that, Mr. Duran.
Thank you, Commissioner Trujillo.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Commissioner Trujillo. Once again, Las Vegas is part of San Miguel County, so can people have fires in their backyard?
In San Miguel County?
In the city?
In the city.
Mayor, I could address that real quick. We have an ordinance in place. No, you cannot.
Okay. So I know there's nothing nicer than making hot dogs on an open flame and sitting around a campfire, but please, we just ask you to do not do this. I know people are coming to New Mexico to go camping. A lot of people come to Story Lake, to the campgrounds up in Gallinas, and please follow these directions. It's science, and it's only fair that we take care of each other and that we don't start a bigger fire. So once again, all open fires are banned in the county. Does that include a gas grill?
No, it does not.
But charcoal grill and any of those other, open pits, fire pits, are all illegal right now.
And charcoal grills are, there isn't some exceptions to that. Charcoal grills, if it's associated with a residence, at a private residence, charcoal grills are allowed even under the state restrictions. But because there's an exception for that, that doesn't mean you can't be held accountable if a fire starts. So you can use a charcoal grill at your private residence. It doesn't allow for out in the campsites, off-road campsites or other types of campsites. But there is that exception for at a private residence. You can have charcoal grills, but that does not mean that you can't be held accountable if a fire starts because of that grill.
Okay. So once again, you'll be held responsible. If there's a fire that gets out of hand and you had anything to do with it, you will be held responsible. That's even with fireworks. If you're shooting off illegal fireworks and your neighbor's house catches on fire, well, guess what? We will find you, and it will be your fault. So I'm just encouraging everybody to be very careful this weekend, and I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom. I love the 4th of July myself. I just want the public to know that I'm very worried about this situation with the drought and COVID and all the people coming to town. A viewer called and asked if Mr. Maestas could repeat the first of what you said when you started speaking. I guess the video froze up.
Oh, okay. I wanted to thank everybody in the city, all the residents of the city of Las Vegas and the residents of the county for doing their part of keeping our tests and our COVID numbers low per capita across the state. I also forgot to mention that I do have reusable cloth masks if anybody in the community is in need of any, or any business is in need of any. You can get a hold of my office at 425-6190.
Thank you. Again, if businesses need masks to pass out to their customers, they can call 425-6190.
6190.
6190, I'm sorry, 425-6190. And they can pick up some masks, or we can take them to them. That's one way. I know in businesses all over town, when this first started, if you didn't have a mask, they were offering you a mask to use, so we appreciate that. And all the people who are making masks, all of a sudden, everyone broke out their sewing machine, and we started, all these wonderful people started making masks, and so they're readily available. Did I miss anything? I just want to say thank you to, again, Dr. Tafoya, who was here earlier, County Commissioner Max Trujillo, County Fire Chief Mr. Duran, Mr. Montoya, our City Fire Chief, Leo Maestas from the Emergency Management. I'd like to thank Scott Aaron, our City Attorney, for being here. Thank you. Dr. Bill Taylor, our City Manager, thank you for being here. Our Police Chief, Mr. Bibb, thank you. And Phil Scher from Las Vegas Optic, thank you for covering this. I'm sorry the radio stations weren't here. And I'd also like to recognize the Municipal Judge, Eddie Trujillo, in the back of the room. Thank you all for joining me, and have a safe and happy 4th of July. Thank you.